In this series of Healthy Ireland at Your Library videos, viewers are encouraged to develop a positive approach to caring for your mental health. Created by and courtesy of the HSE, all content is based on evidence and research around the areas of wellbeing and positive psychology. Over 8 episodes, we'll provide hints, tips and guidance on how to care for your mental health every day. We're all aware of increasing levels of anxiety and depression. This series gives us the tips to flourish and thrive. It encourages us to discover and appreciate our strengths so we can use them to enjoy life and to look forward to the future. The ability to adapt and persevere through the challenges of life is what we know as resilience. But what are the building blocks of resilience? And how can we use our strengths to help protect our mental well-being and help us to flourish and thrive in everyday life? In today's video, Theresa McElhinney of the HSE talks about what resilience is, how it's not fixed and it can be improved.
Resilience works for us in different ways. It helps us deal with the past, to cope with the present, and to look forward to the future. Resilience helps us to overcome and move on from difficulties or trauma in childhood. What we learn and experience as children can shape our adult lives. Resilience can help us to come to terms with difficulties that we might have experienced. It doesn't undo them, but it can help us to move forward from them. Resilience can also help us to steer through the day-to-day irritations that we might face, like an argument or a flat tire, maybe a toddler tantrum, or a rainy, miserable day. It means we can put these things in perspective and not let them ruin our day. When we are resilient, we are better able to bounce back from crisis or life events. Most of us will experience life events that can be hugely stressful at the time. For example, fear of COVID-19, a relationship breakdown, moving house or losing our job. Some events will challenge us even more, like serious illness or the loss of a loved one. Resilience can help us to come back from these stresses. Of course, it won't be easy and it will take time, but the more resilient we are, the more we're able to pick ourselves back up. You may have often heard the phrase, "he's back to himself." And this might be about someone who has recovered after a difficult time. So resilience helps us to come back. Resilience can help us to adjust and perhaps to face a new road than the one that we had planned for ourselves. Resilience isn't just about coping with the tough times. It can support us to reach out for new opportunities, to be more creative and enthusiastic about life. We don't limit ourselves because we are worried about getting it wrong or failing or not being able to cope. It really means we can open up our world to new experiences and to move forward. In addition to that, we are able to invest more in our relationships to make them stronger and more positive. We also experience more positive emotions. If you're listening and thinking, "I don't really feel very resilient," the good news is you can change this. Our capacity for resilience isn't fixed. In other words, we can all increase our resilience. And in a moment, I will talk about how. We might feel more resilient in some areas of our life than others. For example, I might feel very confident dealing with difficulties at home, but much less able to deal with difficulties at work. And for another person, it might be the other way around. Being resilient doesn't mean we won't feel anxious or sad or that bad things won't happen, because that's part of life. But being resilient means that these emotions won't overwhelm us and that we know we will survive them. So resilient people still experience challenging emotions and tough times, but they have developed the capacity to cope and adapt. How can we improve our resilience? We know there are certain things we can work on that does improve our resilience. These are what I call the building blocks of resilience. Each building block is important, and the more building blocks we develop, the more resilient we will be. Have a look at the building blocks. While this might seem like a long list, don't be put off by that. You probably have a lot of these strengths already. But as I go through them, you may recognize some areas that you want to look at, areas that you want to improve on or pay some attention to. As you can see, there are 10 building blocks in all. We're going to talk about all of them, but I will focus specifically on 3 of them. The first building block is empathy. Empathy is how we tune in to other people, understanding their feelings and their behaviours. This is important because it helps us to read cues and signals from others and helps us build strong connections and positive relationships. A sense of humour is really important, and it's a building block that we could easily overlook. Having a sense of humour means we don't take ourselves too seriously or see every situation as a crisis or a drama. Laughter is also good for our mental health, and we all know how good it feels to have a really good laugh. Another building block is having interests and purpose in life. Working towards a goal, no matter how small, with determination and effort, gives us a sense of achievement and success and helps us build resilience. It's important to be able to manage our emotions. This helps us cope when a challenge arises, and we are able to keep cool and stay calm in a crisis so we don't become overwhelmed. Let's focus on optimism for a minute. Resilience is underpinned by optimism. This is a positive outlook where we believe things will work out or get better. That sense of the glass half full. There is a wealth of research proving the importance of an optimistic outlook to our overall mental health and well-being. How optimistic are you? Do you tend to believe that things will generally work out? Or is there sometimes a but? If you find yourself often saying but, that might mean that you're seeing obstacles or believe that things won't work out. And that might indicate that this is an area that you need to do a little bit of work on. Self-control means managing our behaviours and responding well to situations as they arise. This gives us the opportunity to respond rather than react. And you might remember we talked about that in session 3. Problem-solving skills are an obvious building block for resilience. This means being able to draw on a range of coping skills and seeing solutions or ways of working things out when faced with challenges. It also means being able to recall how you coped in the past and to learn from those experiences. I'm going to look at the final 3 building blocks in more detail because these probably have the most impact on our resilience. In session 1, we talked about the importance of practicing self-care. Self-care is an essential building block for resilience. It's about the practices and activities that we do every day to support our mental well-being. To build resilience, we need to prioritise self-care. Realistic thinking is another essential building block of resilience. How we think is the most important influence on our resilience. How we interpret or respond to a situation will determine how we cope with it. The priority for resilience is basing our thinking on what is actually true. This is realistic thinking. We need to challenge our negative thoughts and establish what is real and what is based on anxiety or fear or maybe general pessimism. If we think we can't do something or cope with the situation, then chances are we won't. We convince ourselves we're just not able to do it, or it's just not possible. We might think this regardless of whether it's true or not. On the other hand, if we can think more realistically, more positively, then the outcome can be very different. Now to the final building block, self-belief. Self-belief is where we can see ourselves positively and have confidence in our own abilities and strengths. We need to have beliefs that support resilience rather than ones that diminish it. Self-belief then helps our self-esteem, our self-confidence, and our overall resilience. It's important for us to tune in to our beliefs so that we can work out whether they're supporting us or not. If you have generally positive beliefs and thoughts about yourself and others and the world in general, then you're probably quite optimistic that things will be okay, or if not, that you'll be able to deal with them. This can support your resilience. And this is the kind of thinking we want to encourage. Let's look at limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are beliefs that we hold that may be negative or unrealistic about ourselves or others or about the world in general. They can hold us back and get in our way and really impact on our resilience. Let's look at an example of one limiting belief. I always get it wrong. A belief like that is probably something you might have held for a long time. So how do you question that? Ask yourself, is it mine? Or is it something someone once told me and I still believe it? Is it true? Is it really true that you always get things wrong? Is it helpful? Is it helping or benefiting you in any way to hold this belief? Does it hold you back from trying things? Is there another way of looking at it? How about noticing the times when you got things right or when things worked out for you? Challenging limiting beliefs could result in new, more positive and realistic beliefs like this. I could try to do that. I know I find interviews hard, so I need to prepare really well. It's worth trying if it's something that's important to me. Sometimes I get things wrong, and sometimes I get them right. If I fail, it will be hard, but I will survive. Asking for help is a sign of strength. We've now looked at all 10 of the building blocks of resilience, but what really holds it all together is appreciating your personal or character strengths. We are not talking here about skills and talents, which are of course important. It's more about your personal or character strengths. These are the ones that impact on the way we think, how we feel and behave in our day-to-day lives. In summary then, acknowledging your personal strengths is really important because it helps support your resilience. It boosts your self-esteem, it increases your self-confidence and supports your self-belief. Let's recap on this session on improving our resilience. Resilience is essential to our mental health and well-being. It is not fixed. We can learn to increase our resilience. Resilience improves through good self-care, increasing realistic thinking, and challenging negative or limiting beliefs. Identifying and acknowledging our strengths benefits and increases our resilience. If you would like to view any of the sessions again, or for further information about mental health supports, see yourmentalhealth.ie.